and we use the second block for the left stop arms. We take the block, set it on top of the domino joiner, and align the pencil line with the sight gauge on the fence. When you have it perfectly aligned with your sight gauge, clamp it down to hold it in position. And now we can adjust the position of the stop arm until it touches our block. Once it's touching the block of wood, tighten it down, and repeat that process for the other stop positions. With the domino and multi-position guide adjusted, we're ready to begin building our drawers. We're going to start out with the front and rear of the drawers. Now, the first thing you want to make sure to do is that your dado goes down so that the fence of the domino joiner is registering off the outside surface of whatever box you're building, whether it's a drawer or any other box. It's always registering off the outside. I have the left dog in the down position, so we'll begin on this edge. Line it up with the edge of the workpiece. Firmly hold domino at the handle. I have very little control back at the motor, and I use one hand to gently push in, but all the control is up at the forward hand. Turn domino on and plunge in smoothly and slowly. Next, we have the drawer side material, and to domino this, it needs to be in the vertical position with the dado facing towards you so that you're plunging into the side. Because our drawer sides are taller than our front and rear, we have to use the second set of guide stops on the multi-position guide stop. And to make sure that I remember to use those different stops for these cuts, I've added some blue painter's tape as a reminder. So we'll flip the Vaxis to the vertical, take our side, mount it, The last step we have before we can begin assembling our drawer is to cut our drawer bottom. And the easiest way to determine the dimensions of the bottom that we need is to use the components that we already have cut. Now the width of our bottom is going to be equal to the front or the rear plus the width of the dado. So to determine the width of our bottom, you want to take your two pieces, hold them together with the two dados facing each other, and measure that gap of two dados, which is 3/8 of an inch. So our width becomes 15 plus 3/8, or 15 3/8. Now the depth of our bottom is going to be equal to the length of our sides minus the non-dadoed remainder of our material. To determine our depth, take your components and put them together back to back with dados facing outward and measure the material in between, which is 5/8 of an inch. So the depth of our drawer bottom needs to be 17 minus 5/8, or 16 3/8. So the first thing we're going to do is square up our stock. We're going to use the multifunction table. Make the first cut just inside the edge here so we have a nice clean edge to begin with. Now that we have our stock squared, I'm going to cut it to size at 16 3/8 by 15 3/8. We're ready to start assembling our drawer. I like to start with one of the sides, and what I do is I first glue the dominoes into the mortises on the sides, and then I apply my joint glue to the edge of the mating pieces. This gives me better control over the glue application and less squeeze out into the inside of the drawer. When I apply my glue to the edge, I try and keep the bead of glue a little bit toward the outside as much as possible and not past center, with just a tiny drop inside the mortise itself, enough to catch onto the domino. Gently slide the piece over the dominoes, and I used the narrow domino setting, so there's no tolerance here. Push those down. Now we take our bottom piece and slide it down through our dados. Push it until it's tight. Nice fit. We want to get some clamps on this. You don't want to have your clamps too far in, because what can happen is you can bow your sides in. So you want to have your clamping pressure so it's acting pretty close to in line with the piece that's being clamped. When doing that, we're going to get a little bit more squeeze out, so I can clean that up. And anything that you don't get immediately, you can clean up later with a chisel. It's just a lot easier to catch it while it's wet. Now the last thing we want to do is check the square of the drawer. And we do that by taking diagonal measurements. I have 23 1/4 this way, 23 5/16 this way. That means I need to compress this a little bit. And that might have been enough to do it, which it has. So that we now have a square drawer, and we'll let this dry for half an hour or so, and we're ready to finish this up.